Nate Silvers and these Saliza people, just bites into this glorious show. AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half opinions, in need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas.
When Greg Gutfeld targets AOC, it's not just political commentary, it's razor-sharp comedy, with wit that slices through her buzzwords and contradictions. He doesn't argue, he dismantles. As AOC spins her familiar ideological fairy tales, Greg delivers the cold, hard punchlines of reality, wrapped in biting humor. It's a takedown that leaves no room for Twitter-fueled sound bites to survive. Each line lands with precision, turning truth into entertainment, one savage, hilarious sentence at a time.
Where did she grow up again? Westchester?
Westchester.
She represents Queens. And she wears plaid, and then she has little ski things with like a 60-pound backpack, like she does that. I have never seen, and she showcases her whole life on social media. You can never see her in private. Everything is on social media.
Greg Gutfeld has always been a connoisseur of the absurd, a collector of contradictions, and a master of political roasting. So when he aims his satire at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, it's more than commentary, it's a full-blown roast infused with sarcasm, dry wit, and intellectual takedowns. AOC doesn't just provide material, she practically delivers it, gift-wrapped, complete with a glittery bow and a note that says, "Use this on national TV." And Greg never misses the opportunity.
AOC was on 60 Minutes last night, quite a feat for a newcomer. Must be all her great new ideas.
People are going to have to start paying their fair share in taxes. Once you get to like the tippy tops, on your $10 millionth dollar, sometimes you see tax rates as high as 60 or 70%.
What an expression. Now, the real story isn't AOC's very old ideas. It's the media's gushy view of her. Even with her old ideas, she gets on 60 Minutes. The past is called the future, and you better love it.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Greg begins his takedown the way a chef prepares a gourmet meal, by savoring every bizarre ingredient AOC brings to the table. And with her, the pantry is never empty. A self-proclaimed champion of the working class, she somehow finds more time live-streaming her skincare routine than crafting real legislation. AOC represents the rise of the political influencer's strange blend of TED Talk ambition and TikTok trends that absolutely no one requested.
Victim status.
Why is it, Greg, that you can't challenge someone to a debate on the ideas without being accused of being a jerk? Like, I don't think Ben Shapiro has ever catcalled in his life.
Well, the thing is, what if a woman had challenged her to a debate? So she's actually being the sexist.
I think Candace Owens did.
Oh, really?
Now
there you go.
She has, like,
because
doubled the money.
So to answer your other question, she had to cloak her weak ideas in the armor of a smear.
Gutfeld doesn't need to exaggerate. OC's career is a walking contradiction. He starts with her economics degree, which she brandishes like Thor's hammer in every debate. Despite it seeming like it was printed on the back of a rewards card, Gutfeld marvels at how someone with an economics degree can be so baffled by the basics of supply and demand.
AOC has never introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life. The reason why she gets along with Bernie is because she's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listen to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983.
AOC's Green New Deal reads less like serious policy and more like a 10th grader's extra credit project rewritten during a yoga retreat. It promises a utopia, funds it with unicorn dust, and hopes no one notices the math shakier than one of her Instagram filters and bad lighting. Gutfeld thrives on this disconnect between her polished rhetoric and the messy reality. She rails against capitalism, while wearing outfits that cost more than a month's rent in the Bronx. She decries injustice from the comfort of first-class flights to climate conferences. Greg peels back the curated image to expose the performance. Underneath, a spectacle crafted for social media, not serious governance. To him, she's the political equivalent of a decorative candle, stylish, bright, and completely useless in a power outage. Then there's the buffet of her social media antics. Gutfeld dissects her addiction to performative outrage, where AOC doesn't just debate, she accuses, dramatizes, and gasps like she's in a soap opera. Every disagreement becomes a moral crime, every word a trigger, and every response pure theater.
She doesn't do her job, right? She makes movies, she goes to galas, she sits for glossy butt-kissing interviews in GQ and other women's mags. Once you get over to the fact that you're hollow inside, it's not a bad life.
All right, Dana?
Well, I think that I read a little bit of the New York Times review.
Gutfeld paints AOC as someone who approaches every debate like it's the season finale of a reality show, where every disagreement is trauma, every policy critique is oppression, and every lost vote a Greek tragedy repackaged for Instagram. Rios. He highlights her remarkable talent for being offended, joking she can find microaggressions in microwaved soup. But the real roast kicks in when Greg targets her solutions, or the glaring lack of them. AOC proposes sweeping, radical overhauls of modern society, yet consistently forgets to bring a calculator. Her plans promise everything, solve nothing, and have about as much grounding in logic as a hoverboard on a trampoline. Gutfeld compares her political approach to ordering the most expensive meal, insisting everyone else should pay, and storming out when the bill arrives. It's theater over substance, perfect for social media, disastrous for policy.
Crossed her wrists behind her back, again in the faux handcuffed position. It's as tall a tale as AOC nearly being killed on January 6th. This is a person who never met a situation she couldn't make about her. She really is the Amber Heard of DC politics. I'm surprised she didn't claim she was nearly killed on 9/11 or during the Tet Offensive or the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Gutfeld targets AOC's Green New Deal like it's the blooper reel of environmental policy, high-speed trains replacing air travel, cows getting climate citations for farting, and universal income for people unwilling to work. He doesn't even need a punchline. The premise alone gets the laughs. It's a plan so detached from reality that even kindergartners playing pretend government might second-guess it. According to Greg, the Green New Deal carries the ambition of the moon landing but the planning of a chaotic group text. He's baffled by how someone can hold public office and still act like an outsider fighting the system, as if she's camped outside Congress with a protest sign instead of working inside it. You are the system, he reminds us. Yet, to AOC, every critique of her ideas isn't a policy challenge at systemic oppression. She doesn't aim to win debates through logic. She wants to rewrite the dictionary so she never has to lose one. To Greg, it's not leadership, performance art with subtitles.
She gets on 60 Minutes. The past is called the future, and you better love it. Take AOC's delightful dancing video from last week. The media created a fake story that conservatives attacked her over this delightful trifle. Not really. In fact, the only stories written about the dance were by liberals using it to falsely smear the right. So the press creates a shield around her.
Then comes the ego, which Greg Gutfeld dissects with surgical flair. It's the kind of confidence that only comes from someone who believes their hot takes are gospel and their gaffes are just growth opportunities. AOC tweets with the conviction of a prophet and deletes with the finesse of a magician. Her contradictions are rebranded as evolving thought, political code for don't look too closely. Gutfeld grins as he tallies the times she's backtracked, reshaped, or redefined her own words, as if language were balloon art bendable into anything but accountability. She posts curated selfies paired with captions about systemic inequality and sells trendy merchandise with slogans that sound profound until you realize they were likely crafted during brunch with interns. To Gutfeld, it's activist political performance where aesthetics matter more than action, and clout is the real currency. It's not leadership, he argues, but a carefully filtered spectacle, designed more for likes than lasting change.
She knew the media would obey. Let's watch the tape. You know, she'd be a great mime, like the Latina version of Marcel Marceau.
Gutfeld points out how AOC frames every issue as a battle between good and evil. With herself cast naturally as the heroic protagonist, every vote becomes a noble stand for justice. Every critique is framed as oppression, and even minor policy disagreements are inflated into dramatic flashpoints in the battle to save civilization. Greg likens her political approach to a never-ending soap opera, starring herself as the fearless heroine, capitalism as the ultimate villain, and every critic as a walking threat to democracy. It's exhausting, overly theatrical, and, for Gutfeld, absolute catnip for satire. He doesn't let her off the hook for constantly playing the underdog while occupying one of the most influential platforms in the country. She claims to be fighting the power, yet trends every Tuesday. Gutfeld ends with a flourish, calling AOC the ultimate product of a culture that mistakes Instagram engagement for insight. She's not dumb, he concedes, just dangerously convinced that her worldview is not only right, but morally superior. And that, he warns, is the most dangerous belief a politician can hold. That popularity makes them immune to facts.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've done Alexandria every day for the last 6 months. No, I mean, no, but it's true. But so is, I mean, the thing is, she does represent something. She represents kind of like the naive romanticism that you can kind of play along and no one questions.
You mean the poems that you write when you're 15 years old?
But I think that this is a real possibility for her. You know, if she does read and she does actually get up to speed, she could be a challenge. But she hasn't.
Just have some grasp.
In the end, Greg Gutfeld doesn't need to destroy AOC with malice, simply holds up a mirror and lets her reflection do the rest. The real punchline isn't her tweets or her policies. It's that she genuinely believes she's changing the world, when in reality, she's just narrating it with dramatic flair and minimal follow-through. For a satirist like Gutfeld, that's not a threat, it's a gift that keeps on giving. Just when you think his roast is finished, he leans back, smirks, and digs even deeper. Because with AOC, there's always another layer of absurdity, just beneath the surface of a filtered selfie or a virtue-soaked According to Greg, she enters every policy discussion as if it's a conspiracy designed to confuse her hand somehow. That confusion becomes its own protest. She doesn't engage, she emotes, she doesn't solve, she starts conversations, which is often code for launching a digital tantrum, then logging off before the grown-ups can reply. In Gutfeld's view, AOC isn't dangerous, just endlessly
Fans like to say she's living in our heads like Pharrell Williams singing Happy. But in fact, it's the policies that live in our heads, and they should live there, because we know so many people who've been brutalized by such ideas. When you hear someone talk about socialism like it's a fun new way to pay down my college debt, you gotta scream. Just prepare to be called awful things for doing so. Today, pointing out the evil of the past makes you the bane of the present.
Greg Gutfeld zeroes in on AOC's now infamous habit of narrating her political life as if she's starring in an off-Broadway tragedy, centered entirely around her feelings. She doesn't debate policy, she delivers monologues about her truth, often so meticulously edited for emotional impact that it feels less like governance and more like an experimental theater project funded by One moment she's condemning inequality, the next she's crafting a poetic Instagram caption about how the lighting in the Capitol is a metaphor for oppression. Then comes her fashion politics. Gutfeld rolls his eyes, delighted at how AOC treats wardrobe like a constitutional amendment. Her infamous tax the rich dress wasn't just a slogan. It was performance art drenched in irony and stitched with hypocrisy. Here's a congresswoman who built her brand on class struggle, attending a $30,000 Saticat gala while wearing the message like a bumper sticker with a zipper. Gutfeld compares it to showing up at a firefighters convention in a Let It Burn T-shirt. But he doesn't stop there. Greg skewers her obsession with redefining the dictionary. In AOC's world, borders are optional, logic is offensive, and economics is based on how something feels, not how it works. For Gutfeld, it's less political leadership and more linguistic cosplay with legislative consequences.
Hello, America. So by now you heard that AOC, among others, were arrested last night. She truly is an American hero. It was brutal, taken out in cuffs. Well, technically, her shirt had cuffs. Maybe French cuffs, as she did surrender without fighting.
In AOC's world, wanting secure borders is labeled xenophobia. Questioning trillion-dollar spending is considered cruelty, and asking basic questions is somehow framed as an attack on her womanhood. It's less political debate and more word salad, served with a side of moral superiority. Greg Gutfeld has a field day with her uncanny ability to turn any event, be it a snowstorm, a Supreme Court ruling, or even a banana shortage, into a moment centered around herself. She's like a walking commentary machine, absorbing headlines and churning out paragraphs about justice, resistance, and, occasionally, skincare. Her posts swarm social media, guarded by digital disciples who defend every gaffe as genius and every contradiction as courage. It's not politics, it's a cult of personality, fueled by ring lights and Wi-Fi. Gutfeld wraps it all up with his signature grin, not angry but thoroughly amused. Because while AOC believes she's rewriting history, Greg knows she's simply offering up the greatest unintentional political satire of our time, and, the best part, it doesn't cost a dime to enjoy.